My husband found a wealthy mistress and often secretly transfers money to me using her credit card. In just half a year, over 800,000 has already been transferred, one after another. I pretended not to know. I happily accepted it and spent it recklessly. Until one day, that mistress found my company and slapped me. Did you two discuss this beforehand? Am I the only one being taken advantage of? Don't you two have any shame? I was hit by her so hard that my head was buzzing, and half of my face was burning with pain. This woman has such strong hands. Are you feeling guilty when you speak? She grabbed my collar fiercely and said, I tell you, Vivian, the money he transferred to you, I will recover it through legal means without losing a single cent. I will make sure you two can't get away with it. Damn it, are you crazy from being poor? How dare you use this method to trick me out of my money? Pfft. Seeing this, the people in the company all turned to look in our direction, and some colleagues excitedly picked up their phones to start taking pictures. In an instant, I became the center of attention and the focus of everyone's interest. Who are you? What right do you have to hit me? I covered the swollen side of my face, speaking with a choked voice, feeling wronged, and added, How do you know my name? You're still pretending with me, huh? I'll let you pretend. She raised her hand and slapped me on the other side of my face. This time it was harder, directly knocking me down to the ground with a loud thud. Come, see for yourself. She slammed a stack of A4 paper hard against my face, these bills in black and white, clearly stating the payee Vivian. What else do you have to argue about? You two are clearly in cahoots to scam money. After saying that, she turned to everyone in the company and shouted, with a fraud like her, do you still dare to be her colleague? Aren't you afraid that one day you'll fall victim to her schemes and lose everything? The taste of blood spread in my mouth. I spat out a mouthful of blood, struggling to get up, but she kicked me back down. You still want to get up? It's already merciful of me not to make you kneel. Pay me back, give me my money now. If you don't, do you believe I will make you have a life to cheat but no life to spend? As the situation escalated, the onlooking colleagues couldn't stand it anymore and began to mediate, stop making a scene, or I'll call the police. It's just that if you're going to make a fuss, we are still working here. Go ahead, I actually hope you report it. She shook off her colleague who was pulling her, laughing wildly. I want to see how the police will deal with this disgusting liar when they arrive. This lady. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth and spoke with difficulty. Is there some kind of misunderstanding? I don't know you at all. You say that my husband and I conspired to cheat you out of your money. Do you have any evidence? These bills are the evidence. I pretended not to understand. What do these bills have to do with me? Did I ask you to transfer them to me? Don't pretend to be confused while you clearly understand, Vivian. I don't believe you don't know that this money was transferred to you by your husband. I sat up straight, staring at her intently. Why would my husband use your card to transfer money to me? What is your relationship? She choked, glancing around nervously, said, you don't need to care about our relationship. In any case, it's a fact that you two are scamming money, isn't it? Why do you care about your relationship? You can't be the mistress my husband is keeping outside, can you? Otherwise, why would he use your card to transfer money to me? And why are you so willing to give him your card? I don't give a damn about you. How could your poor husband support me? Where would he get the money to support me? Clearly, it's me who supports him. As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd of onlookers collectively gasped in shock. So, you admit it? There is indeed an improper relationship between you two? She couldn't hold her expression, paused for a moment, and still stubbornly said, what does it matter if I admit it? That two-faced pretty boy James, I must have been blind to have fallen for him. Damn it, not only does he spend my money, but he also uses my money to support his wife. How shameless. Don't let me catch him, or I'll hit him every time I see him. This is a society governed by law, and there are consequences for hitting people. I took out my phone and showed the call log. I have already called the police, and they will be here soon. Moreover, our company has cameras, and everything that happened today is recorded. My colleagues can all testify for me. I will accuse you of provoking trouble and intentional injury, and I will not accept any form of reconciliation. See you at the police station." She instantly became furious when she heard that I was going to sue her and rushed over to hit me again. Just then, the security guard and the police arrived at the same time. I tidied up my clothes, wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, and got into the police car with her. As soon as she arrived at the police station, she made a scene, crying and shouting that she had been deceived in body, money, and feelings. She even took out chat records and transfer records, accusing me of colluding with James to scam her. "Police officer, look at this. It is obvious that this couple is a scam, so don't wrong the good people. For more than half a year, her husband has been using my card to transfer money to her. What schemes could a poor divorced woman with a child like me have? Isn't it just emptiness and loneliness, relying on a little money to find a man to keep me company? But what about him? He actually has no feelings for me at all. He takes my money to support his wife." The police officer on duty was stunned, completely dumbfounded. But everything must be based on evidence. Her so-called evidence can only prove that she has been maintaining an improper relationship with my husband James for a long time. Beyond that, it proves nothing else. The evidence I submitted is solid and undeniable. If I do not accept the settlement, she will inevitably be detained. Just as I was thinking, my husband James came. As soon as the woman saw him, she rushed up without saying a word and started beating him, cursing and crying at the same time. "James, you liar, may you die a terrible death. You've made my life so miserable. Just watch me beat you to death, boo-hoo." James tightly protected his face, and the scene immediately fell into chaos. After being pulled away by the staff on site, he touched the scratches on his face and snarled, "Amanda, are you fucking crazy? Can you stop making a fuss?" "I'm making a fuss? How can you even say that? You two, as a couple, teamed up to deceive me, and I can't seek justice for myself? I treated you so well, has your conscience been eaten by a dog?" As she spoke, the woman named Amanda suddenly sat down on the ground and broke down in tears. Seeing this, James was momentarily at a loss for words. "Officer, you saw it too, this woman is simply insane. She knows I'm married and still keeps pestering me. You have to stand up for me. Also, regarding her hitting my wife, we do not accept a settlement. Whatever the judgment is, so be it. Look at what this has done to me, oh it hurts so much." Hearing him say that, Amanda went completely crazy. "James, are you even speaking human? How can you treat me like this? I don't believe you never loved me. Clearly, last night you were holding me and saying that you and your wife have long since lost feelings for each other, and you can't wait to divorce her and marry me. You also said she was like a dead fish in bed, not as good as me anywhere. So, you pull up your pants and turn your back on me? Shut up." James scolded her. "Do you still have any shame in front of so many people? If you have no shame, I still have some. If it weren't for you forcing me with death, who would want to be with you? I still love you, what a load of crap. I just want to get some money from you to help with the household expenses. The only person I love is my wife. I can never divorce her, and I can never marry you. Just give up on that hope." After saying that, he held my hand and looked at me with a face full of apology, saying, "I'm sorry, my wife. I'll explain it to you when we get home. In short, I'm really not what you think with her, so please don't overthink it, okay?" His words were earnest and seemed very sincere, to the point that I momentarily didn't know how to respond. Actually, James is quite a contradictory person. I haven't been able to understand him for a long time. You say he treats me well, but he indeed cheated on me while married. You say he treats me poorly, yet he even knows to take money from the mistress to spend on me. He really can't bear to see me suffer even a little. That night, James knelt before me in front of both sets of parents. My father-in-law was so angry that he slapped him several times, his face became swollen. Without saying a word, he accepted it all. "I was indeed wrong in this matter, and you were justified in hitting and scolding me. He lowered his head and said seriously, "But please believe me, I really never thought about divorcing Vivian. As for that woman, I have nothing with her." "What, no one is willing to spend money for you? Do you think we are all fools? You beast, you have brought shame to our family, just watch me not kill you." Seeing my father-in-law raise his hand to hit him again, I quickly stepped forward to stop him. After all, I was still counting on his face to earn money for me. "Forget it, Dad. Maybe James really has his reasons? I met that woman today, and she's definitely not a good person. I don't know what methods she used to pressure James." My father-in-law widened his eyes in surprise. "Vivian, are you okay? We've come this far, and you're still speaking up for him?" After saying that, he kicked James, who was kneeling on the ground. "Take a good look. Do you deserve such a good daughter-in-law? Our family marrying Vivian, that's like our ancestors' graves smoking with joy." My dad also started to advise, "Since the matter has already happened, it's useless to beat him to death. It's better to let the young couple resolve it themselves. Our Vivian has always been decisive, I believe she can handle it well." My dad is right, I do have my own ideas. In fact, I already knew about James's affair, I just didn't confront him about it. I have also cried, collapsed, and doubted myself countless times. But now I understand. A man's infidelity has nothing to do with a woman, it's just that he is inherently scummy, and there's no need to look for reasons within oneself. Honey, it really was that woman Amanda who pressured me. After they left, James knelt on the ground and still didn't get up. He held my hand and explained, if I didn't agree to her, she would cry, throw a tantrum, and even threaten to hang herself. I couldn't just watch her die in front of me, could I? Besides, we didn't lose out on this, did we? The more than 800,000 I transferred from her card to you is enough for us to earn for several years. I once said that I would rely on my own efforts to give you a good life. Now I can say I've achieved that, haven't I? I was amused, and for a moment, I didn't know whether to scold him or praise him. After all, according to his words, his infidelity was indeed for my own good. So you think I should be grateful to you? No, my wife, I only ask that you don't divorce me. What about Amanda? Let her die for hitting you. As long as we hold on to this, she will definitely go to jail. We can just take this opportunity to completely ruin her. Clearly, this woman Amanda is not so easily destroyed. She is not someone to be trifled with. Because not long after this incident, she came knocking again, directly handing my husband a pregnancy test report, saying to him, "I'm pregnant, the child is yours. If you want your child to die, just let your wife sue." James looked at the report, first in shock, and then his lips couldn't help but curl into a smile. He has always wanted a child. And we have been married for 5 years, but I have never been able to conceive. He says he doesn't mind being childless, but deep down, he wants to be a father more than anyone else. Amanda obviously knew this as well. She glanced disdainfully in my direction and continued, "I remember you said your wife can't have children, right? James, are you sure you want to kill your own son with your own hands for a worthless woman who can't even bear children? If you divorce her and marry me, I can pretend the past never happened. Anyway, I have plenty of money, supporting you for a lifetime is not a problem, and I really do like you. It's up to you to choose between her and me." Hearing her say that, James's gaze towards me gradually became complicated. After a while, he made a move that left both Amanda and me dumbfounded. He tore up that report, tearing it apart with a determination in his expression and actions, as if all the emotions from before had just been my illusion. "Amanda," he said to Amanda coldly while tearing, "stop trying to fool me. I always take precautions, you can't possibly be pregnant. Besides, you are just a hidden third party. How could I possibly let you conceive my child? The child you bear would be a bastard. Do you think I would allow him to be a stain on my life?" After saying that, he threw the scraps of paper in his hand at Amanda's face. "I'll say it again, the only person I love is my wife, no matter if she can have children or not, in this life, I will only love her. And I can never divorce her and marry someone like you. Do you understand?" Amanda clearly didn't expect him to say this, and she was completely stunned. After a while, overwhelmed by emotions, she rushed up and slapped James twice. He shouted hysterically, "You beast, you don't even recognize your own flesh and blood. I tell you, James, I will definitely get a paternity test, and I will make you take responsibility to the end. Your reputation will be ruined, and I will make sure you won't have it easy, even if it costs me my life." James didn't dodge even once, covering his face and threatening her fiercely, "Go ahead, hit me as hard as you can, that way I can sue you together with my wife. A woman who doesn't know her own life or death, just wait until I take you down." At this moment, I should step in to break it up. But seeing this dog-eat-dog scene of mutual tearing, I suddenly felt so good and so stimulated that I even hoped they wouldn't stop. Amanda looked at me, who was excitedly watching the drama unfold, and suddenly understood something. She was even more devastated. "You still dare to say it wasn't a joint scheme to fool me?" Suddenly, she gasped for breath, propping herself against the wall with one hand, and then, under our gaze, she collapsed onto the floor with a thud. "What? Is she faking it?" James scoffed disdainfully, "Our house has cameras, so if you want to extort us, no way." "Hey, Amanda?" After calling out several times, Amanda, lying on the ground, still showed no response. At this moment, James visibly panicked. "What the hell is wrong with you? Don't scare me like this, Amanda. Damn it, really making trouble for me." After cursing softly, James carefully picked her up around the waist, placed her in the car, and then slammed the gas pedal, heading towards the hospital. Due to being too anxious and worried, I forgot that there was another me beside me. It doesn't matter if he forgot me, I can't forget him. I took out my phone and called his parents. After all, they are going to have a grandson. Isn't this great news worth informing them? When I arrived at the hospital with James's parents, Amanda had already woken up. It was nothing serious, just a fit of anger that had made her faint. But the doctor repeatedly advised her that she is still in the early stages of pregnancy and must pay close attention to her emotions, otherwise, there is a risk of miscarriage at any time. "Who among you is the patient's family member?" The room full of people exchanged glances, and no one dared to speak. Seeing the atmosphere fall into awkwardness, I gritted my teeth and raised my hand, saying, "We are all not, but we are all. Because the child in her belly is my husband's." Upon hearing me say this, James looked as if he wanted to find a crack in the ground to hide in, and Mr. Song's gaze towards him was as if he wanted to swallow him alive. Due to the overly complicated relationships between the characters, the doctor couldn't process it for a moment, but didn't ask any more questions. After briefly outlining a few precautions, he let me go to pay. What a coincidence, I ran into my colleague Sister Yen at the toll booth. Sister Yen is always so gossipy. Most of the messy, dramatic stories I've heard at the company were gathered by her from all over. Including the day Amanda caused a scene at the company, she was also one to enjoy the spectacle and filmed it to post online. As a result, we later made it onto the local trending search list. "Vivian? What are you doing here? Who is sick?" She stared intently at the list in my hand, and before I could react, she snatched it away. "Oh, you're pregnant? Hey, wait a minute, Amanda, who is Amanda? Your relative?" Suddenly, she widened her eyes as if she remembered something, looking at me in disbelief. "Could it be that she is the one from that day?" Yes, it's her. I simply decided to let it all go. She's pregnant, and the child is my husband's, so here I am taking care of her, right? Her eyes widened even more. I was starting to doubt that if she kept staring like that, her eyeballs would pop out. "Is it true? No way, Vivian, you can actually tolerate this?" I thought those stories online about the original partner taking care of the mistress during her confinement were just jokes, but I didn't expect this. Realizing she had talked too much, she quickly covered her mouth. As expected, she would soon post about this online. After all, there were many netizens waiting for updates. When I returned to the ward after paying, I saw my mother-in-law supporting my father-in-law as they walked out. It seemed that the old gentleman was quite upset, and even his breathing had become difficult. Seeing me, he said with a face full of apology, "Vivian, this matter is our family's fault. It's all because we didn't educate James properly. You can rest assured that as long as I have breath in me, I will never allow that woman and her child to enter our home." Hearing him say that, my mother-in-law was so angry that she hit him. "What nonsense are you talking? Isn't that your grandson? Are you just going to watch our family have no descendants? Shut up, aren't you ashamed? Your son has turned out like this today, and it's all because of your indulgence." Actually, I'm not interested in listening to them argue. I've understood it a long time ago. In the entire Old Song family, only my father-in-law still has some sense of reason. After all, he used to be a cadre in the system. As for my mother-in-law, her desire to have a grandchild has become somewhat frenzied, to the point that when she learned Amanda was pregnant, her excitement outweighed her anger. When I returned to the ward, I found that James was not there. Just now, his dad had broken his head, and he had gone to get it bandaged. Amanda said in a muffled voice, completely devoid of her usual arrogance and domineering attitude. I just noticed that the ward was in disarray, with bloodstains on the floor. It seemed that what had just happened was more than just a simple argument. "Vivian, let's talk." I ignored her. She continued to speak to herself. "I know you won't forgive me, and I admit that interfering in your marriage was wrong, but I really like him and I don't mind spending money on him, or even on you, since I have plenty of money. You probably don't know, right? My ex-husband is a nouveau riche, and he abused me for many years without change. I put in a lot of effort to get divorced from him. Logically speaking, I should feel fear towards marriage, but James has given me love and confidence, and I hope you can support us." "Do you really believe that James loves you?" "From beginning to end, he has never said he loves you, nor has he ever said he wants to marry you." "You are wrong," she said confidently. "He loves me, he just doesn't want to admit it. After all, I am the third party who intervened, and his sense of morality is so strong. You don't know how satisfied he is when he's with me. If it weren't for you standing in the way, we would definitely be very happy together." "Really? But why should I fulfill your wishes? I can give you money." "James, not everything in this world can be solved with money. I've known him for 10 years, and we've been married for 5. 1 million. What did you say?" I said, "I'll give you 1 million, as long as you can divorce him and make us whole." In theory, in this situation, I should regard money as dirt. I should scold her harshly and despise her, telling her to stay away from my husband and not to get involved. But I don't know why, I just can't say it. I know very well in my heart that even if she doesn't give me this money, I will still divorce James. The rest of my life is long, and I can't spend it with such a worthless person. It's too dirty. Since that's the case, why not take this opportunity to make a big score? Since we're going to score, let's go for something big. Isn't Amanda wealthy? Then let's make a big score from her. You should know that our case is not over yet, right? With the evidence I currently have, it would be a piece of cake to send you to prison. As for James, I have plenty of ways to make him divorce me and leave with nothing." Speaking of this, I paused for a moment and smiled gently. "So, Miss Zhang, what makes you think that a mere 1 million can buy me?" 2 million. I shook my head with a smile, signaling that it wasn't enough. She gritted her teeth and instinctively clenched her fists. 3 million. Seeing that I still didn't speak, her tone involuntarily carried a hint of pleading. "It can't be more than this, really. You've already taken over 800,000 from me. This 3 million can be considered my compensation to you. I apologize, I shouldn't have acted against you in public that day, okay? Vivian, I don't want to tear our relationship apart. If it weren't for loving the same man, we might have been friends. Goodbye, I can't afford to have a friend like you." I compromised and said that I could agree to divorce James, but it was up to him whether he was willing. My word didn't count. "You can rest assured about this, I have plenty of ways to make him bring it up to you." "Alright, I'll be waiting." Because her agreement was too straightforward and her tone too humble, I briefly doubted that I would lose out. But thinking of James's rotten cucumber, it wasn't worth that much money, and my mind was instantly at ease again. forget it, forget it. Let's just consider it a cheap way to handle second-hand goods. Since she loves to recycle trash, let her recycle it. The matter of divorce is obviously not as simple as I thought, because no matter how I discuss it with James, he firmly disagrees. I've said it many times already, I have nothing to do with that woman, I was purely deceived by her. Didn't you say you would trust me? It's not important, what matters is that she is pregnant with your child, and this child needs a father. Is it not enough that I made her have an abortion? No. With my eyes glistening, I looked at him with deep affection and said, "Husband, you know better than anyone how much I love you. For you, I can endure any kind of grievance in this world. Because of this, I cannot delay you. I know you want a child, and I have never been able to conceive. Now, by the grace of heaven, another woman is pregnant. What reason do I have not to fulfill your wish?" He was taken aback, but, my wife, can you bear to part with me? Of course, I don't want to, but there's no choice. Right now, Amanda is emotionally unstable, and the pregnancy is also not stable. We can only temporarily divorce so that she can feel at ease. Temporarily? You mean we can wait for Amanda to safely give birth to the child before remarrying, and then I can raise the child with you, how about that? You're not lying to me? Of course. Wife, you are truly thoughtful. My dad was right, marrying you is like our ancestors' graves are smoking with joy. He excitedly hugged me and spun around. Though I loathe it, I cannot push it away, fearing that it will expose my secret. After all, I can only coax him into going with me to get that divorce certificate, so that the $3 million Amanda promised me can be smoothly obtained. In fact, even if I don't do this, there will always be a way to divorce James, as long as I want to. After all, our matter has already spread online. When James's company found out, they fired him immediately. He lost his job and relied entirely on Amanda to support him, especially since Amanda was pregnant with his child. No matter what, he would never really fall out with her. And all the heartfelt performances he staged before my eyes were merely self-deception. If he really loved me as he said, then what happened with Amanda would never have occurred. Saying that he was trying to get money from Amanda to support me, only a fool would believe that. In fact, when I first found out about his affair with Amanda, I was devastated. I took advantage of his sleep, unlocked his phone with his fingerprint, and sneaked a look at their chat history. He told Amanda that a woman who can't have children is no different from trash, and said that after so many years of marriage, he has long lost any feelings for me. Even if she lay on the bed completely naked, I had no reaction at all. She was as dull as a dead fish. In my heart, she doesn't even compare to a single finger of yours. You are so beautiful, so wealthy, you are simply the most precious gift that heaven has given me, you are my salvation. There are many, many similar words. No wonder Amanda doesn't believe that James has no feelings for her. Every word he says reveals his admiration and infatuation for her, and she is so starved for love. This was also the reason why she went crazy when she found out that James had secretly transferred money to me using her credit card. What hurt her was not the money. What she truly couldn't bear was James's deception. Even later, when James repeatedly distanced himself from her in public, even going so far as to humiliate her and curse at her, she still chose to forgive him. Because she viewed James through a filter. During that dark time right after her divorce, it was James who accompanied her, it was James who made her believe that she was worthy of love. From that moment on, I had already given up on James. Countless deep nights, I have spent sleepless, repeatedly asking myself where I went wrong, where I fell short compared to her. But later I realized that I did nothing wrong. The reason James treats me this way is simply because he is a scumbag, and it has nothing to do with me. This is also the reason why, no matter how he performed those heartfelt acts in front of me later on, I remained unmoved. He doesn't love me at all. He only loves his own reputation. He thought that by putting on a hat of infidelity for my sake, he could make me forgive him, and then act as if nothing had happened, continuing to be his good self and maintaining our loving couple facade. But he never expected that this matter would escalate. It spread online. Having become a celebrity, he not only lost his reputation, lost his job, and became a joke in the eyes of others, but was also forced to become a kept man, living off his lover. The day I received the divorce certificate, it started to drizzle. He looked a bit dazed as he watched my departing figure, and after he came to his senses, he quickly chased after me. "Vivian, are you lying to me? You're not going to remarry me, right?" I smiled at him gently and said nothing. "Why?" he questioned urgently, looking quite frantic. "Why are you treating me like this? You told me you loved me, willingly supporting me, and even said you would raise the child with me. Was it all a lie?" I still didn't say anything. Did you already know about my relationship with Amanda?" His voice trembled slightly, a kind of embarrassment as if he were stripped bare and exposed to the sun. "James, admit it, you love her." I looked at him calmly and said, "This outcome today may not be what you wanted. I don't love her, the person I love is you. Being with her is really just to make some money, to help with household expenses. At this point, do you still want to deceive yourself?" "I don't, everything I said is true." "Maybe, but it doesn't matter anymore." I crossed my arms and stared at him intently. "You should know, since your infidelity is a fact, I will divorce you no matter what. In my life creed, a man who cheats can only be discarded. There is no such thing as cleaning him up and continuing to use him. It's too dirty. I have a cleanliness obsession. In fact, from the moment James transferred money to me using Amanda's card, I knew that sooner or later, the truth would come out, and Amanda would come knocking. And that day was the day when my relationship with James officially came to an end. This meant he could no longer make money off me, which meant he had lost his value to me. Since that was the case, why should I continue to be with him? Moreover, at that time I was the perfect victim, a pitiful woman betrayed by my husband, beaten by the mistress, and pitted by the entire internet. In such a situation, it would be unreasonable for me to make any demands during the divorce. It's just that I clearly underestimated James's feelings for me. Or rather, I underestimated his unwillingness to accept the whole situation and his desire for revenge. Because shortly after our divorce, he had a big fight with Amanda, threatening to break up with her and remarry me. Amanda couldn't stand the pressure and climbed up to the rooftop, threatening to die in front of him. "James, I have been scorned by the world for you, looked down upon by my own daughter and family. I have lost so much money and endured so many grievances for you. Now, I am even risking my life to get pregnant and give birth for you, just to fulfill your father's dream. But what about you?" Amanda cried uncontrollably. Due to the strong wind on the rooftop, her voice trembled with every word. "When you were with me, you used my card to transfer money to your wife, and you still had the face to say it was your own effort that gave her a good life. I finally managed to get her to agree to divorce you, but not only are you unwilling to marry me, you also want me to abort the child, not wanting to take responsibility. Why? I ask you, why? What the hell gives you the right to treat me like this? Amanda, what have I done to wrong you? Tell me, huh?" Crazy, really crazy. James was going wild on the spot, yet he had no way to deal with her. "Can we talk nicely? Can you come down first? I'm begging you." Seeing that Amanda had no intention of coming down, his patience was gradually wearing thin. "Amanda, can you stop making a scene? Can you try something different? It's really boring. Do you think I'm joking with you? Do you really not care about my life or death? Including the child in my womb?" Amanda shouted at him in a breakdown, completely devoid of any rationality. "Do you believe that I will really die for you?" Seeing her about to jump from the 10th floor with a turn, James had no choice but to give in. All right, I believe you, I'll marry you, okay? I won't remarry my wife, is that all right?" "Your wife? You still call her your wife?" Ex-wife. "Then you swear?" James silently raised 3 fingers. "I, James, swear to heaven that if I do not marry Amanda in this life, let me die a miserable death and never be reborn." Satisfied? Well, that's more like it. Just as Amanda was about to come down, her foot suddenly slipped, and her whole body uncontrollably fell down. So much so that even I, watching the live broadcast on my phone, couldn't help but gasp. My heart seemed to stop suddenly. In the next moment, James lunged forward and grabbed her wrist fiercely. But he was too weak. Within a few seconds, he was completely pulled down by Amanda. Two piercing screams suddenly came from the phone, and I was so scared that my palms were drenched in sweat. Oh my God, these two actually jumped off the building? Did James's vow really come true so quickly? Wow, this is so exciting. I followed the live camera and looked down from the rooftop, only to find that the area below was already crowded with people. At that moment, the cameraman said, "At present, both of them have been taken onto the ambulance, and they should be out of danger. After all, someone called the police early in the morning, and the firefighters had already laid out the rescue air cushions downstairs." Just as I was reading here, I was interrupted by a phone call. It was actually James's mom. "Vivian, you should hurry to the hospital. James fell from upstairs, and we still don't know if he's alive or dead." "What are we going to do?" "Woo-woo." She cried as she spoke, and by the end, it was even a bit hard to hear her. "Your dad suffered a stroke because of James's affair and is now bedridden. If something else happens to James, how can my wife live? I might as well just die." "Mom, no, Auntie, please don't be anxious." "How can I not be anxious? If it weren't for you insisting on divorcing James, would it have turned out like this? He just had an affair, right? So what if he had a child with another woman? It's still because you can't have children." "Fine, since that's the case, why are you still calling me? Just go to the hospital and collect your son's body." "I won't indulge you." But after I hung up the phone, she called again. I hung up again, and she kept calling. In the end, there was no choice but to go to the hospital to see him for a moment. After all, without seeing it with my own eyes, I couldn't believe that in this world, there really exists retribution in this life. They both ultimately did not die, narrowly escaping with their lives. However, living was worse than dying. Amanda suffered from severe bleeding due to a miscarriage, and because the situation was too critical, the doctor had to remove her uterus. From then on, she could no longer fulfill James's dream of becoming a father. It also meant that she no longer had any leverage to keep James by her side. This might be more painful for her than taking her life directly. James wasn't in a much better situation either. He broke both legs from the tremendous impact of the fall and would have to rely on a wheelchair from then on. He had always been proud, and perhaps he couldn't accept the fact that he would be disabled for life. But there was nothing to be done, it was all fate. The last time I went to see him, he cried out in anguish, repeatedly hoarsely saying sorry to me. He repeatedly emphasized that the only person he has ever loved is me. Being with Amanda was really just a moment of impulse. "The chat records you saw are not real. I was just trying to make her happy, letting her spend money on me without any defenses." Wife, do you believe me? I do not seek your forgiveness, nor do I ask for another chance to reconcile. I only ask that you believe in my feelings for you. I am somewhat at a loss for words. Is this important? Of course it is important, as it relates to my later years. Will I spend them in regret? As long as you believe in me, I will feel that I am pure, and my love for you is pure. I don't believe it. Not only do I not believe it, but I also find people like you particularly disgusting. I said without mercy, cheating is cheating, no matter how one tries to beautify it, it is still cheating. James, if you openly admit that you no longer love me and have changed your heart, perhaps I would still respect you as a man. At least it shows you dare to take responsibility. But what about you? You still refuse to admit it, and keep disgusting me over and over, saying that cheating is for my own good. Do you think I'm a fool? Do you even believe what you're saying? He wanted to continue explaining, but I had already lost interest in listening. Before leaving, I told him, actually, the one who is infertile is not me, but you. I changed the name on the list just to preserve your pathetic male pride. He felt as if struck by lightning, his pupils dilating in an instant, In other words, the child in Amanda's belly. It's not yours, you must have been deceived by her. For a moment, I became the center of attention and the focus of everyone's gaze. And I just know that crazy woman is plotting against me. She might just like you too much, wanting to be with you so badly. Like? Heh, she just wants to find a father for her child, and I am just that foolish guy taking the fall. Maybe, but it has nothing to do with me. I slowly got up with my bag in hand and calmly looked at him before turning around. James, I no longer want to hear about your matters, nor will I care. Take good care of your injuries, and I wish you, in your lifetime, to stand up again, while we never have to meet again. Vivian? Vivian, he shouted at my back, wife, don't go, I know I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. Please turn back and look at me, okay? Look at me. His voice was accompanied by helpless cries, resembling the screech of some animal. It sounded chilling. Somewhat pitiful, and even more so, tragic. And in my heart, there are no more waves, I just want to stay a little further away from him, even further in my lifetime.